אני רוצה קודם, אני רוצה להזמין את מר תייסיר עמרו. דוקטור תייסיר עמרו. בעברית או באנגלית?
English.
I would like to ask you if you could refer to the changes that the Palestinian society have gone through in the last 20 years since the Oslo Accords, if you could relate to it a little bit.
This will establish. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I am lucky to speak after Dr. Yoel Ben-Non because he told that he said that he came from Gosh Etzion and I came from Gosh Al-Khalil.
Al-Khalil.
So,
Al-Khalil is a חברה.
yeah. I have a written paper. Then, of course, I will go beyond what I have written, as the case may be. I am deeply thankful to the organizers, Henrik Ball Foundation Israel, and the S. Daniel Abraham Center for Strategic Dialogue at Netanya Academic College, the Shteinmetz Center for Peace Research, and the Moshe Dayan. Like this, okay? Okay. And the Moshe Dayan Center for Middle Eastern African Studies at Tel Aviv University for organizing this badly needed conference. In the light of the checkered yet discouraging developments followed the signing of the Oslo Accords between Israel and the Palestine Liberation Organization in September 1993. At the outset, I should confess that I have been caught in the crossfire of the necessity of maintaining optimism and the necessity of portraying the actual harvest of the Oslo Accords. This was a difficult job. It requires an open mind, courage, credibility, and commitment to the noble cause of seeking a just and lasting comprehensive peace. We, the Arabs, have a phrase, صديقك من صدقك لا من صدقك, which means your friend indeed is the one who is sincere in telling you the truth, no matter how bitter it might be when you seek his opinion, and not the one who believes you irrespective of the rightness or wrongness of your attitude. The Oslo Accord is but, regrettably remains merely a document of papers that talks about peace process, which is neither completed nor was able to change its nature from being a formal one to an empirical one. If we want to use analogy, and according to the renowned philosopher Bertrand Russell, mere truths will lead us to nowhere and told us nothing about the world. Peace is either a function of balance of power or a product of mutually beneficial relations based or not upon ideologically shared principles. Unfortunately, in the Arab-Israeli case, peace remains a function of balance of power, and thus remains a pragmatic peace, then it is the product of an ideological change on the two sides alike. In one hand, Israelis believe that the Arab world is coming to terms with Israel, and this is, I have quoted from Professor Asher Sasser. He wrote in his book, The Jordanian, Palestinian, Israeli Triangle, Smoothing the Path to Peace. And I wrote a chapter in that book, so I am referring to his, I'm quoting him. The Arab world is coming to terms with Israel for far more out of acquiescence in the regional balance of power than as the results of a substantive change in the pervasive delegitimizing ideological perceptions about Zionism. I finished the quote. On the other side, Palestinians believe that Israel had made its mind not to allow any viable Palestinian state and not to address any of the Palestinian rights, even those lies within the purview of the Oslo Accords itself. Let apart the worsening of their economic life as a result of full array of methodological Israeli measures which kept and worsened the inherited distortions of the Palestinian economy, i.e., geographic, structural, infrastructural, and last but not the least, distortion of the interests of groups and individuals. Currently, Palestinians are murmuring with many things which has been justified by the interview of Israel's Deputy Defense Minister, Mr. Daniel, with the Times of Israel on June 8, 2013, and I quote, "The ruling coalition is staunchly opposed to a two-state solution and would block the creation of a Palestinian state if such a proposal ever came to a vote." Quote is over. This is an honest reflection of the constant strategy of the successive Israeli governments towards the Palestinian people. To mention a few, Ishaq Shamir said, "I want to negotiate 20 years with the Palestinians without conceding an iota of their demands." Ariel Sharon besieged his yes to President Bush roadmap with 11 reservations, under which he continued the unyielding Israeli atrocities against the Palestinians in Jerusalem and throughout the land designated to be the land of their upcoming state. Let apart the construction of the apartheid wall, despite that it has been nullified by the International Court of Justice and other international institutions. Mr. Netanyahu is following suit in maneuvering, despite that the cat is out of the bag, recently by Mr. Daniel. So Palestinians believe strongly that they have no partner, and they are being pushed to navigate stormy, uncharted water. And at the most, they will get a promise of throwing to them a life-saving device as and when they are half sunk. Distinguished colleagues, no one should enjoy seeing Palestinians half sunk time and then. They are so because they are materially weak. I stress, materially weak. And such weakness implies at its own a strength in the making, particularly if it is coupled by a tested and a proven of an indomitable spirit to survive. Palestinians, they came to the playing field. They are coming, and they will keep on coming to the playing field. This truism should call our Israeli neighbors to opt, whether they want a pragmatic formal peace, which is a product of balance of power, or they want a just and lasting peace, which is a product of ideological acceptance. Hence, the ball is on their court. And there is a very important, relevant question which they cannot and should not evade while making their choice. And this is the question put by Mr. Asher Sosar, and I quoted him here. Whose side is time perceived to be? Israelis are far more confident about the short-term regional balance of power. If peace is but a function of the existing balance of power and not the consequences of a profound ideological change, then how this peace would be affected by a shift in the regional balance of power in the longer term? This is more or less a mirror image of the radical Arab perception of time, who argues against the peace process, contending that in the long run, Israel is doomed to ultimate defeat. Here we have two sort of dialogues. Either we have a dialogue or monologue. Between these two extreme different, soft but dangerous cautions, namely the caution of a favored regional balance of power on which Israel may lie its head and sleep, and the caution of time and natural course of history on which Arabs and Palestinians may lie their head, awaiting the ultimate defeat of Israel as and when the balance of power shifts. The very important question, which is the task of all of us, the very important question stems out of the minds and hearts of peace-loving people on both sides, is that what are the changes made by Oslo and what is the way out? In my humble view, the only change that Oslo Accords brought about is that it has broken the earlier taboo of not talking to each other and gave us the opportunity of better knowing each other. But this change should not be taken for granted. And it does not necessarily produce spontaneously something positive unless we both keep the momentum of thinking aloud concerning our future. Without going to details, and while confining myself in this context to the limits of portraying the Palestinian perspective, I may state that, in my individual capacity, in front of this distinguished gathering, that Palestinians will leave no stone unturned in their endeavor to build their fully sovereign state on the 1967 borders. And if they fail to succeed, as it is expected, in the light of the attitude of Israeli governments as reflected by Mr. Daniel, they may go naturally for other strategies, including that of adopting a one-state solution or a binational state solution with its pros and cons, which could not be discussed at this juncture. In a nutshell, Palestinians will keep on coming. Thank you.